Good afternoon and welcome to Biztech's Asian Midday Market Watch. It's the 19th of September. I'm Brian Fernandez and I'm pleased to welcome back my co-host Jeffery Halley. Let's start by taking a look at the summary of market action and over to you, Jeff.
Thanks, Brian. Look, overnight in the US, post the Federal Reserve's rate decision, all three major indices actually fell, with the Dow Jones Industrial finishing 0.25% lower at 41,503, while the S&P 500 fell 0.29% to finish at 5,618. The Nasdaq Composite fell 0.31%, finishing at 17,573. The Dow Jones and the S&P 500 actually surged to fresh highs intraday overnight before reversing course to close lower post that Fed rate decision. Asia Pacific markets have risen in choppy trading today as investors assessed the Federal Reserve's decision to cut interest rates by 0.5 percentage point. The Fed lowered its benchmark borrowing rate by 0.5 percentage point, bringing its target range to 4.75 to 5%. In Asia, Japan's Nikkei 225 has risen 2.49%, but the Japanese yen has weakened against the US dollar by 0.68%, currently trading at 143.24. In lockstep with the Fed, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority today has cut its interest rates by 50 basis points as the city's currency is pegged to the US dollar. In Australia, national seasonally adjusted unemployment rate remained steady at 4.21% in August. That's according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and that was in line with the Reuters polled analyst expectations. Employment additions rose by 47,500, and this surpassed estimates, which were around 25,000 jobs to be added. In New Zealand, GDP for the second quarter to June contracted by 0.2% from the previous quarter, and that's according to official data released this morning. This was less than the Reuters poll, which estimated that GDP would fall by 0.4%. The Bank of Japan is poised to kick off its two-day meeting today. Its central bankers will make a key rate decision tomorrow after the central bank ended its decades-long ultra-low interest rate regime earlier in the year. Also today, Taiwan's central bank is set to make a key rate decision as well and will release its revised economic growth and inflation forecast for the year. And now it's over to Brian for the latest numbers and markets across the region.
Thanks, Jeff. Now, over in Australia, the ASX All Ordinaries is up 0.68%. The Kospi is up 0.1%. The Nikkei is up 2.75%. The Hang Seng is up 2.05%. Shanghai is up 0.74%. The Straits Times Index over in Singapore is up 0.72%. And rounding up the sea of green across the region is the KLCI, which is up 0.13%. Now, to give us insights into markets, let me welcome our guest for today, Tina Teng, an independent markets analyst based in Auckland, New Zealand. Tina, welcome to the show.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Jeff. Thanks for having me again.
Good to see you.
Well, Tina, let's get straight to it. It's all about the Federal Reserve. They've cut interest rates by 0.5% overnight. It does appear to be, though, a hawkish rate cut from my perspective. Can you walk us through the Fed's rate decision and its implication for markets, particularly stocks, bonds, and currencies?
So from the Asian session today, obviously the global markets welcome the Fed decisions. As we can, the equity markets across Asia Pacific are all up. They rally for the Fed's jumbo rate cut. But from my perspective, I don't see the Fed is hawkish this time, but neither very dovish. However, I think the 50 basis points rate cut was expected, was like 50% chance. However, I think they needed this outsized cut just because there is risk for the employment markets. unemployment rates has in the trend of rising. That's why the Fed needed front load the rate cuts. So for currencies, I can still expect the US dollar would weaken in the medium term, so they will boost other currencies.
I noticed that Jerome Powell said that the equilibrium rate, by their calculation, I think was around 2.875%. So I guess that's a lot higher than the equilibrium rate has been previously. I guess he's signaling there, to my mind, that the age of 0% interest rates is over. Do you think this is why perhaps stock markets ended up lower in Wall Street overnight?
What do I can see here? Wall Street were lower as markets have already pressed in a possible 50 basis point rate cut. And there's a sell effect reaction in the markets. But in today's Asian session, the futures markets in both the US and Europe actually are up, including equity markets in Asia. So now investors just returned and risk on sentiment return to the markets. I would expect there would be a rebound in Wall Street tonight.
Now, Tina, I want to then get your view on the upcoming Bank of England and Bank of Japan decisions later this week. So is this then a prelude then for further cuts, particularly from the Bank of England?
There certainly will be pressure on the other central banks like Bank of England or the ECB. However, it's what expected. The Bank of England will still maintain the rate unchanged tonight because the interest, the inflation in the UK resurgent. So they might not cut this time, but this expectation for them to cut in November and December. So I think the Fed risk cuts have the significant impact on global markets and the global central banks. As for the Bank of Japan, they might stay relatively dovish this time as they don't want to shock markets. Once they raise interest again, they might see the Japanese yen would significantly strengthen against other currencies, which is not really good for the Japanese economy and the markets.
Now, Tina, one more thing. In our part of the world then, obviously emerging markets have benefited in recent weeks from money flows. Places like currencies like the Malaysian ringgit, for example, have strengthened tremendously. Will this rate cut then push Asian currencies up further against the US dollar?
Yeah, I would give a yes for emerging currencies. It's all about liquidity. So the Fed rate cuts basically marks start of the rate cutting cycle. This easing cycle would boost the liquidities around the world. Again, I think certainly the emergency, the emerging currencies would benefit from it.
Now, Tina, thank you very much for your insights and for coming on.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Jeff.
Now, we've been speaking to Tina Teng, an independent markets analyst based in Auckland, New Zealand. This has been Biztech's Asian Midday Market Watch. Be sure to be informed on the latest market updates weekdays at 1 p.m. I'm Brian Fernandez, together with my co-host, Jeffery Halley. And this video and podcast will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.